The performance of your chainsaw is only as good as the fuel and oil that you put in it. So, what do you need to know about the fuel and oil that goes into your chainsaw? This is Chainsaw Safety with Clemson University, and I am your training instructor, Patrick Giesel. And today we are going to learn about fuel and oil. All chainsaws need some form of fuel and oil to run efficiently. With our gas-powered chainsaws, we have a gas compartment and we have an oil compartment that needs to be refueled and restocked every so often. When it comes to the fuel with a gas-powered chainsaw, it is important to understand that chainsaws have two-cycle engines in it, which means they don't burn pure gas, but they need a gas and oil mixture to run efficiently. Most chainsaws run a 50-to-1 mix of gasoline to oil. You can go to the store and you can buy little tiny bottles of oil additives for fuel that you can mix with 1 gallon or 5 gallons of fuel to get the perfect ratio of that 50-to-1 for the chainsaws. You can also go in the store and buy premixed fuel mixes that have the 50-to-1 ratio that you can feed into your chainsaw to have a long-lasting fuel component in your chainsaw. The difference between the premixed material that you can buy in the store and mixing your own fuel is that the premixed material typically has stabilizers in it, so it has a much longer shelf life, typically of around 2 years. If you mix your own fuel, your shelf life is typically limited to 3 to 6 months before you start losing a lot of the power that's in the fuel that you're trying to use. Here's a tip for you. If you mix your own fuel, make sure you use non-ethanol fuel. Non-ethanol fuel will not gum up inside your chainsaw, inside your carburetor, if your chainsaw sits for extended periods of time. If you use regular gas from a gas station that has an ethanol component and your chainsaw sits in the garage for 6 months or longer, chances are that your carburetor and your fuel lines are gummed up, and the moment you want to start your chainsaw, it will not. Besides the gas, also make sure that your chainsaw has enough oil in its oil compartment. When you're replacing oil in your chainsaw, make sure you have bar and chain oil that you put in the compartment. You can buy bar and chain oil at any of the big box stores, or you can buy them at your local chainsaw dealer. The bar and chain oil is designed with the right viscosity for the chainsaw application, and it will not provide you too much or too little oil in your chainsaw to lubricate the chain and the bar. When it comes to actually replacing the fuel and the oil in your chainsaw, you have multiple options on how to do that. With the fuel, you typically have a fuel container that can be used to fuel up the chainsaw. Depending on what fuel container you have, you either have one that has a straight nozzle that has no control mechanism to stop the flow of gasoline or fuel. That's easy, you just tilt it over and you fuel your chainsaw. When you have one of the more dedicated or specialized fuel containers that have a push button that basically stop and release the flow of fuel, you have to be careful with those. If you do not release the pressure from your fuel container first, you will release all that pressure inside your gas compartment, which then causes a lot of the fuel to spill out of the opening that you're trying to fuel into and then spray the fuel right into your face. Nobody wants that, so make sure you release the pressure on your gas container first before refueling your chainsaw. With the oil compartment, it's very easy. The oil containers typically have just a simple lid on them. You unscrew the lid and you just pour the oil into the oil compartment. So far we have talked about gas-powered chainsaws. Now let's talk about our battery-powered chainsaws. With a battery-powered chainsaw, you don't have fuel or gasoline that you need to replace, you have a battery. The battery needs to be charged every so often to provide enough power to your chainsaw. So when you use a battery-powered chainsaw, it is very important that you are vigilant on checking the oil level in your oil compartment before you start using your chainsaw. So what is the issue when you don't have enough oil in your oil compartment? Well, without oil, you're creating a lot of friction between your chainsaw chain and your guide bar. In that case, the guide bar and the chain will start getting hot. It may start forming a blue coloration. You may see smoke forming. And all that happens is that your metal is heating up, which weakens the metal, and it diminishes the longevity and the performance of your chain and your guide bar.